Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show's being recorded on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, and it will be uploaded to the channel on Sunday, September 15th, 2024. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, for those who need to reach me, we get asked all the time, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. I think there's time slots available now in early 2025, if I remember correctly. So very easy to do. Also, we have a platinum membership. You're welcome to join. You can join that on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, or our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. And we actually gives you access to hundreds of videos in the archive. And we also do live member streams on Friday mornings, about 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. Answer a lot of your personal questions and a lot of things going on in your lives. So happy to do that. So lots going on there. A little bit of housekeeping. First off, I just want to start off the show. For those of you that watch the show or the channel all the time, you know, my wife had hand surgery on Friday, and I will let you know it all went wonderful. She has literally no pain, and I think it's thanks to all the wonderful prayers and love and light that were sent out from all the participants to this channel, all the members and subscribers. So thank you very much. My wife Linda wanted to pass that along to you. She's doing wonderful. So really, we're very grateful for that. Also, had a couple things going on this week. You know what we had predicted last week. Obviously, that 45 and Harris were going to have their debate on Tuesday, and in fact, I said it would go very, very well for Kamala Harris, and in fact, to give her a real push, a real acceleration. I did see both showing up, right, 45 and Harris, which they did. And that go very, very well for Harris to be declared the winner. Also, if you watch this channel, you know, for months, even going months ago, when I did shows with other people, my angelic team had predicted that Taylor Swift would come out with a strong endorsement for the Democratic ticket for Harris. And in fact, that happened also this week on that Tuesday. So we usually put hot off the presses out. You can find those on our community board. My team goes through news articles and just tries to then match the news article up with where the prediction occurred and which show, which date, which time code. And really, the really point of that is just to see that there's rhyme and reason and a purpose to the universe, that this all tracks according to, you know, a larger one source, a one force. So anyway, just want to kind of relay that in terms of things that had happened this week. This week we had almost 400 questions off of our community board, and my wife went through them and got them down to 80. So it looks like this may be a little bit longer show than normal. We have 80 questions to go through here, which I'm happy to do. Go through them real time for you. So for those that are new to the channel, we actually put a request for questions on the community board on Monday mornings. And then usually by later in the week, maybe Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, that gets shut down, if you will. And then my wife does go through all the questions to try to sort them out. So people always ask, where do you put questions? They don't come in through email. They need to go up on our community board. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Absolutely. Okay, now with no further delay, let's get going on question 80 in the countdown. 80. How big will the new young voter turn out to be? I get it's going to be the largest in history, like presidential election cycles, due to a lot of factors, women's reproductive rights, and endorsements from major stars like Taylor Swift, which, by the way, she's the largest, most famous, most financially lucrative star in the world right now. So big impact on a lot of people worldwide. But that a lot of factors here going to like the largest turnout for younger voters. 79. Hello, Sterling and team. When 45 speaks, does he realize he is often lying, or does he actually believe he is speaking the truth? You know, he understands very well that he's lying and creating a false narrative, but he's learned through people that have been around him. It's almost like if you tell somebody an untruth long enough, that what happens is that they start to believe it. So it's a skill, if you want to call it a skill. It's a terrible skill, but something he learned growing up through people he was around. He knows he's lying, but he's creating on purpose a false narrative. Mhm. 78. Will Governor Youngkin of Virginia or any succeeding administration ever change or privatize the state pensions, VRS, or state retiree Medicare plans? No, I don't see these ever being privatized. That's really the question. Looks like there may be a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about privatizing these pension programs, state pension, but it does not look like they ever get privatized. 77. Hi, Sterling. I have heard that the files on the 45 Russia investigation are missing. Can records like that be restored electronically? Will we ever know the extent of his relationship with Putin and Russia? I get none of the files are actually missing. Maybe that came out in the press, but what I get is that there's a lot of redundant backups. Files have been digitized. They're redundant in terms of replication. So I don't get any of the files are lost. And I get a lot of this information is going to come out in the year 2026. It'll be released to the public. It'll be very, very apparent. 76. Good morning, Sterling. Can you tell us if Harris will win Pennsylvania? Yes, I see that she'll win Pennsylvania by a small margin. This is going to be a fight to the death, if you will, between the two sides, right? 45 and Harris. Really, the country's very split. So she will win. It won't be by a huge margin, but she will win. 75. Hi, Sterling. Please look at the Nebraska Senate race between Deb Fisher and Dan Osborne. Looks like Fisher, what's her name? Deb Fisher. Looks like Deb Fisher will win in the end. 74. Is anything going to happen with X or Elon Musk because of Elon constantly posting AI pictures or false narratives or false news? I don't see anything coming relative to like state or federal prosecutions, but what I do see is new AI, artificial intelligence driven fact checking systems that will then be able to put up alternative posts or information to counteract false news, deep fakes, a lot of that thing going on. So it'll be a real integration of real time fact checking using artificial intelligence very shortly here in the next year to 2 years here. It's already starting to roll out, but it'll be a big factor here very shortly. So I don't see any federal or state prosecutions, say coming for Elon directly. 73. When 45's lawyer was arguing their case for postponing a case in front of Judge Chutkin, they slipped up and said Judge Clarence Thomas directed them on what to say. Judge Chutkin caught this and challenged the statement. 45's lawyers tried to walk it back. Is Judge Clarence Thomas working with 45's lawyers on these cases or his cases? Will he be caught and will anything come of it? For entertainment purposes only, yes, he's absolutely assisting in the back end with 45 in the cases, the Supreme Court justice. And it will come out 2025 and 2026. A lot of information is going to roll out, but Thomas will be gone for the Supreme Court long before then. Looks like the transition for Thomas will be the beginning of next year out of the Supreme Court. A lot of litigation coming around that, but yes, the question is Thomas helping behind the scenes? And my team saying absolutely yes. 72. Hello, Sterling. I hear there is an asteroid heading towards Earth. Do you see an asteroid impact on Earth within our lifetime? There are many asteroids that have a trajectory headed towards Earth, but none of them are going to have major impacts on Earth. Now, not the type that destroyed the dinosaurs and civilization at that time. And within about a decade here, very shortly, we're going to have technology that'll be able to change trajectories of asteroids. So that technology is already being tested, kind of be deployed within 10 years. And over a 10, 20, 30-year period here, any asteroids that have a trajectory that could be harmful to Earth will actually be diverted. So there's a good kind of balance between what's happening and technology coming into play. So nothing that's going to destroy Earth, but lots of asteroids have trajectories towards Earth in varying sizes. 71. Hello, Sterling and team. Can you tell us if Meghan Markle's new show on Netflix will be a success? It's a cooking and lifestyle show. She also has a very new product line coming out called American Riviera Orchard. Okay, how will it do? I know I see a very short life cycle for this show and even the product line, like 1 to 2 years, like a very short life cycle. So it looks like it has some moderate success and then goes away. A very short life cycle. 70. Hi, Sterling and team. An Illinois-based trucking company, Midwest Transport, is shutting down, and 650 people will be losing their jobs. I guess it's some 400 truck drivers. They have a contract with the USPS. What is the reasoning behind this shutdown? Seems suspicious just before the election. I get this is all based on like a bankruptcy filing for this company. What's it called? Midwest Transport, like a bankruptcy filing, but it's like they lost a lot of business. So, let's say companies like Bed Bath and Beyond or whatever companies this trucking company was shipping for, like many businesses going away. So, I don't get it suspicious timing. I get it's like a bankruptcy filing, long time in coming here, and like a loss of business from major retailers that this trucking company was depending on. 69. Thank you, Sterling and team. You mentioned last Sunday that we will soon have lab grown meats for those of us with digestive difficulties and our autoimmune conditions. How well will this new food be to digest, absorb its nutrients? So it'll take years here to perfect, the perfect like lab grown meats, if that's what we're asking about here, right? Lab grown meats, right? Yeah. But through the years of perfecting, they're going to go through lots of tests and trials to optimize it for human conditions. So it's actually, it may sound overly technical to have lab grown food or lab grown meat, but that is the future. That's what's coming here. And it will be tolerated. They'll run tests, focus groups, lab studies, and they'll get it to a place where it's digestible for regardless of where you're at, whatever your human condition is. 68. Who assigns birth angels to us? We negotiate that on the way down. So it's all part of a process when you're laying out your life path and your blueprint and what guides you're going to initially take down with you, what you intend to accomplish. You do meet your birth angels before you come down, and they stay with you for life when you're down here. But it's all part of a negotiation process, bit of free will and a negotiation. 67. Hello, Sterling. If all souls come from the one source, one force, from the beginning, then there is a finite number of souls in the universe. Or are new souls created? If all souls began at the same time, what accounts for their different levels of soul spiritual development? Is that where free will comes in? Whatever this person's asking, souls are based on energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. One source, one force put energy together in certain components to create souls at one time. Yeah, all souls were essentially created around the same time, even though it was from energy that can't be created or destroyed, right? It's all part of the infinite nature of the universe. But then this person is also asking, so new souls aren't created, what accounts for different levels of soul. What accounts for different levels of soul development has all to do with incarnation cycles. How many times you come down to earth, what lessons you learn. Remember, there are thousands of levels in heaven, but you can actually go other dimensions on the other side. So it's all about soul development, has a lot to do with incarnations around earth, other areas of the universe. 66. Greetings, Sterling and team. Will there ever come a time when CRISPR technology will come up with a way for women to remain as fertile into their senior years as do their male senior counterparts? Yes, it's all going to be very achievable in over 10 years for this particular question here, something like 15 years. This CRISPR gene editing technology will be available. However, the interesting part is that a lot of women, for example, may not or will not opt into it. Free will, but just having the capability, a lot of women may not desire it. But yeah, that capability will be there, along with other medical support systems that might create other stresses on a woman's body at a later age in life. But yeah, this is all coming. It's going to be an option down the road here, and CRISPR is going to drive a lot of that in this case. 65. Will the Vatican secret archive and documents ever be revealed? If so, when? Yes, but not until like 2034. Could be a little sooner, but a lot of the Vatican information. Once full disclosure occurs with extraterrestrials, just within another year or two here, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of the world's religions start to collapse and morph, and then a lot of hidden information coming out, like with the Vatican secrets are going to come out. A lot of Vatican secrets, a lot of Vatican individuals going through history had a great deal of interaction with extraterrestrial species. You'll see a lot of that in the archives coming out. 64. Hello, Sterling and team. 8 million people are on Biden's Save Student Loan Program. It's currently tied up in court fights. What will happen to this program? It's going to be stalled until the beginning of like the first Harris term. So it's going to be stalled. They'll come back around again. We've read on these student loan forgiveness programs a number of times on this channel, and I always say they're going to go through cycles, on again, off again, on again, off again. It's a political football, as you can appreciate. But it looks like the SAVE program, which might be some deferment and minimize payback in some cases, I guess, based on your income earnings. But all this is like coming back along with some loan forgiveness around the first term of Harris and Walz. 63. Sterling, I have some questions about Texas officials. When will both Governor Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton leave office? Will either lawmaker be held accountable for their actions if they broke the law? Will AG Ken Paxton become governor of Texas? First off, I don't see AG Ken Paxton becoming governor of Texas. No. It appears they're going to be gone inside of 2 years here. So I'm not sure what the election cycle is all about. There's going to be court cases against both of them, but I don't see a lot of jail time. So it looks like they're going to skate or skirt some of the problems here around legal things they've done. So yeah, it's a bit of a rodeo in Texas, so to speak. But it looks like they'll be gone within 2 years, so not right away. And unfortunately, not a lot of legal or prisoner or jail time for either one of them. And then, of course, the last one, I don't see A.G. Paxton, becoming governor of Texas. 62. Hello, Sterling and team. In 1924, George Mallory and Sandy Irvine disappeared attempting to become the first to summit Mount Everest. In 1999, Mallory's body was found, but Irvine's body was never found. Did they reach the summit and how did they perish? I get they were very close to the summit, like within 1,000 feet. I don't get that they actually got to the summit. And it looks like the body that wasn't found, who is this Sandy Irvine? I'm sorry, which one did Mallory's body was, I'm sorry, Mallory's body found, but Irvine's. So Sandy Irvine. Looks like if I guess Sandy's a woman here, it looks like she fell into a ravine and something about like, sometimes the earth can gobble you up a little bit, or consume you. There's something about falling into a ravine, not being seen, and then ice coverage or snow coverage or something. And so that's why I guess her body wasn't found. Unfortunate, but it looks like they were within 1,000 feet, something like that, vertical feet of the summit. 61. Hi, Sterling. How do you reconcile seeing the bad things that you know are going to happen? Are you able to keep your loved ones safe by telling them to stay home or avoid this or that situation? No real problem in this area. Information that comes through for any of us, myself or for any of us, is meant to help humanity. When there are large Earth events, things that come through that will be shown by my guides and angels, I will always offer up information I think that could be helpful, but you're never allowed to change the direction of humanity. So if a very large cataclysmic event is coming up, you're not allowed to change it. It's usually part of the Akashic records and on the Earth's timeline. So yeah, it doesn't cause a big problem. I guess, personally, if the person's asking in my life, I certainly give up as much information as I can all the time to loved ones around me and people that I have sessions with. But on some of the larger scale events, you can't change history. Okay. 60. Will we ever see the truth of what happened in the Idaho 4 college students who were murdered? Yes, like by next year, 2025, it's all going to be made public. So they already have the correct suspect in custody, is what I'm getting, the correct suspect. 59. I've been asking my guides, past parents, and partners yes or no questions for over a year. When their answer is yes, I get a strong pulse up through my spine that is very similar to a tantric orgasm. Are these yes pulses actually yeses answers from my spiritual friends? Well, first off, they're actually your guides and angels communicating with you, not family members. Now, when you speak a universal truth, getting a cold chill across your body is very common. But I always tell people work on communicating directly with your angelic team. We all have teams of birth angels and guides that travel with us. But yes, a universal confirmation will give you like a massive cold chill, and that's a good way. That's a good way to confirm kind of what's going on in your life. But I would tell asking the question, try to go a level deeper, not just a yes or no. But in fact, when you start communicating with your team, you can say, where should I locate the best lawyer for me, or should I buy that house, or should I buy the one over which one? You can actually start asking a little more detailed questions rather than just like yes or no. 58. Hello, Sterling and team. What exactly is a reptilian and what do they look like? Reptilian is a form of extraterrestrial. They're less than 1% of the extraterrestrial species, and they tend to be a little more violent, but they're held in check by all the other ET species. And in fact, there are some housed right now at Area 51 in Nevada, underground. 57, high Sterling team. The Republicans know that 45 is mentally unbalanced and declining. Why are they so determined to put in a candidate who will most likely not be able to function or fulfill his term? What is their real game plan? Are they actually hoping to get JD Vance to be president? Well, they're focused on the complete control of government, much, like putting a dictatorship in power. So you have a split between the population. They understand what's going on mentally with 45, but it's almost like using them as a pawn to get control of government. Yes, this is like split between individuals that want people to take control. Like, I don't want to make a decision for myself. Let somebody else, like a dictator, run everything. And then there are other people that want supreme control over the US in conjunction with other dictators. So in this case, like 45 is being used as a pawn. So they understand what he's all about, but he's being used as a pawn. 56. And I guess there a question here. I just was noticing JD Vance. I don't think they have a real strong opinion about JD Vance. I think a lot of people wished he wasn't the running mate, but it's more about getting someone there that they can control. It can be control of the US and then work with other dictators worldwide. 56. Hello, Sterling. Many years ago, I woke to a gray swirling fog at my side of my bed. I was unable to move and immediately felt fearful and prayed for protection. I fell back asleep before the fog subsided, but I've always wondered what or who it was. Who was it? In this case, it was simply a family member, family members, plural, trying to make contact with you. This is a spiritual experience. There are family members trying to get in contact with you. And I see a lot of that happen when people, whether they know or not, put out a prayer to the universe or say, I need help, or going through a particularly stressful period. Many times family members will come around. So nothing scary there, but they were family members. 55. Hi, Sterling and team. What would happen if you pass away with many people, for example, a plane crash or train crash? Do we all leave together or just by yourself? Large passing events, they're like group passing. So if you look at what happened on 9/11, Holocaust, plane crashes, they actually end up being group soul crossings. Everybody kind of crosses together. And many times those groups are destined to be together because they'll come back very, very quickly. A lot of times soul groups, not to be confused with your unique soul group, are your family members, but this kind of extended soul group, they'll come back much faster to help humanity. But yes, they'll tend to all cross together. Absolutely. Okay, 54 in the countdown. Will they get rid of the filibuster with the new Congress? Yes, but not until around 2026. Got a couple years to go here. 53. Hi, Sterling and team. Love and light to you. Who built Gobekli Tepe and when? What was the purpose and why was it buried and abandoned? Whatever this was this in Turkey? I don't know. Gobekli Tepe. It looks like it was in Turkey some 12,000 years ago, but looks like it was built by a civilization at that time, and then the civilization perished or moved on. So I'm getting this is more or less kind of a normal. Some of these were large monolithic structures or something here, large stone structures, 12,000 years ago, but the civilization departed or somehow left the face of the earth. So something happened to that civilization, and that's why it was left behind. 52. Hi, Sterling and team. In Washington State, who do you see winning the gubernatorial race, Bob Ferguson or Dave Reichert? Looks like Democrat Bob, is it? Yeah, Bob Ferguson. Looks like he'll win. Yeah, interesting. And I don't know what's going on. I really don't follow politics in that area. This is Washington State. I don't know if they've had the same governor for a long time, like over a decade. I don't know. But looks like this will be like a kind of interesting change. But it's a Democrat, and they just said it's Bob Ferguson. Yeah, Bob Ferguson. 51. Hello, Sterling and your team. I believe you said Prime Minister Trudeau will not be the Liberal candidate for our next election in Canada. Does your team see us being able to avoid the Conservative 45 followers taking over all federal and provincial governments? Our Premier Danielle Smith in Alberta is implementing mandates on schools about, and they can, I'm sorry, schools about if they can use pronouns, and then about library books. Our NDP leader in Alberta is an amazing person and has a good track record. Will he be able to unseat Smith? Well, I do see that, yeah, Trudeau will not be, for some reason, part of the next election cycle for Prime Minister of Canada, PM. There'll be another candidate. They'll have very similar values and ways of managing government as did Trudeau. But looks like in Alberta, the premier will still be Danielle Smith. So I don't know what's going on, or going to be Danielle Smith. However, it looks like will still maintain power. I'm still getting Danielle Smith is still going to maintain power as premier, and looks like Alberta. 50. Thank you, Sterling and team. China has developed a filter made of silk and cellulose that removes forever chemicals from water. Will we see this product becoming available to the public? And if so, when? It's going to be commercialized within 3 years, like around the world, within 3 years. So by the year like 2027, yeah, it looks like this technology is going to be a keeper. 49. Hi, Sterling. Is death with dignity ending one's life terminally ill condition at one's choosing or part of one's life path? Or is this not following the path? Well, everything that takes place down here is part of our life path. So even, death with dignity, termination of life. Now, if it's not on your life path, you won't succeed. Sometimes people will go through a death with dignity process and still survive. If it's your time to go, your birth angels will escort you across. So everything that happens down here, there are no accidents. If it does happen, if it goes through to completion, if you will, it's part of your life path blueprint. Those are important things to understand. But remember, if it's not your time, you won't pass to the other side. So death with dignity is part of a life path blueprint. 48. Hello, Sterling and team. A few months ago, I had a retinal detachment followed by moments later by an eye stroke. Before the stroke, I heard a voice. It wasn't female or male. I can't describe it. The voice said, "You're going to be okay." It was so loud and real that I repeated it out loud. No one was even on my side of the house when this happened. This set me looking for answers and eventually on your YouTube channel. It shook me so much. I only told my wife when she saw me writing about this. Since then, I've had 6 surgeries on my eyes in the past few months. 2 questions. One, who was the voice? And two, will CRISPR eventually help reverse, restore, and prevent this with myself and other people? I can't really see out of my left eye, pretty much a spotty black and white oil slick. They say I could lose it and possibly my right eye as well. I can't really handle the thought of being blind. As a graphical artist and programmer, this really has me scared. What do you see? The voice you heard first off was one of your birth angels. So they'll step in right away at any time when they really feel like you need the help. So that was one of your birth angels stepping in. Not to be so redundant, but CRISPR technology, gene editing technology, next 10 to 15 years here is going to be very helpful in a lot of things, including eye diseases or eye problems. And I think you're asking, it will restore, reverse, and prevent eventually the disease. So, we put all these things on our life path. And I would tell you to think about raising your hand for some early trials. I'm not a doctor. but investigate how CRISPR is being used in a number of these eye areas. I think you're going to find some research that may lead you to some meetings with some doctors, but this is all part of a process going forward here. But you will, like many others, with some of these eye disease, eye ailments, are going to be helped with CRISPR gene editing technology. And for those who are new to CRISPR, it's CRISPR. That is the abbreviation for a long medical term, which I won't go through with you here right now. But yeah, CRISPR will restore, reverse, and actually prevent the disease. 47, what is the best way to develop psychometry and why don't more psychics use it? Um, well, psychometry, simply put, is really the ability to touch an object and understand its history, anything about it. So that could be a coin, that could be a book, that could be anything. So touching the object, learning about its history. It's really your guides and angels, your angelic team, that's feeding you that information. So it's an extension of the psychic mediumship ability that we all have. It's just one form of psychic mediumship ability. It functions across the 8 clairs, right? So that information can come to you through clairaudience or clairvoyance, seeing images. But it's an extension of the 8 clairs, and it's your angelic team that's feeding information. But yeah, good question. Psychometry, for those who understand it, touching an object and then learning extensively about its history. Many times you see this being used where somebody will grab, let's say, take someone's wristwatch, and then the psychic or the medium can say, oh, this is from a man, this is from your grandfather, he died in an accident in New York. So you can pick up a lot of that information. So, yeah, good question. But a lot of psychics and mediums actually do use psychometry. I never use it. I can, but the information just kind of comes through in a clean dialogue and images and apparitions. So 46, hi Sterling and team. Do you see any major earthquakes in Southern California that residents should be prepared for over the next 5 years? Yes, absolutely. Dozens and dozens. And you're going to see a lot of earthquake activity continuing in Southern California. In fact, this coming week, fours and fives, six and sevens, Northern California, not this week, but later on the year. But yeah, there's a lot of earthquake activity nationwide, but especially in California, a lot of pressure and stress is being relieved. Yeah. So you need to be prepared for all of these. Okay. 45. Will John, is it Mannion, defeat Brandon Williams for New York's 22nd congressional seat? Looks like John Mannion will win the election. Is it Mannion? I think that's how you pronounce his name. Looks like he'll win the election. 44. Hi, Sterling and team. Do ETs or extraterrestrials remember past lives, or do they forget them like humans? They have strong recollections of all their past lives, but they don't spend a lot of time on it. It's part of being more highly evolved. You look at all the lessons you learned and you progress. It's like going through grades of school. So as you get, let's say, into a master's program or a graduate program or a doctoral program, let's say using a college or university example, you don't always think about what you learned in grammar school or junior high or high school or undergraduate. But you respect the fact that all that pushed you forward. So yeah, they have a very strong recollection of past lives, part of being more highly evolved. 43. Hello, Sterling. I'm curious about reincarnation. Since we all come from the same source, why are some beings millions of years ahead of us, like the praying mantis beings compared to humans? Well, it's all about soul development. So there are certain souls that, when they're put together, decide to take a different course than other souls. So remember, there's free will on the other side. So extraterrestrials derived out of the one source, the one force, millions and millions of years ago. Praying mantis beings have been around. Praying mantis beings are a form of extraterrestrial. I work with them all the time. They are some of the most highly evolved extraterrestrials, and they stand very, very close to the one source, the one force, in and around the angelic realm. You can consider them very wise beings, very helpful beings, but it has to do with free will choices of what you set out to do if I can even start the incarnation process. 42, hi Sterling. The New York City Mayor, Eric Adams, Deputy Mayors Sheen Wright, Terrence Banks, and Phil Banks, the Education Chancellor David Banks, and Advisor Tim Pearson's homes were all raided by the FBI. The Police Commissioner Edward, is it Caban, C-A-B-A-N, Caban, Phone devices were also seized. What did they find? Will everyone, including the mayor, have to resign or do jail time? I don't see jail time for a lot of these individuals, but I do see resignation and strong connections to offshore entities try to manipulate elections. So a lot of what we're seeing, some of the other federal elections around 45, I see a lot of offshore money changing hands to try to influence elections. So it doesn't matter whether it's on a federal basis or state level. So there was like a trickle down going on here with offshore funds coming from sources. All this is going to come out over the next 12 months here, a lot of resignations, but I don't see jail time. There have been court cases, but for some reason, it just does not result in jail time. 41. Sterling and team, you say parents and their children come to Earth based on contracts, blueprints. What about adoptive parents with no blood relationship? Is there still a connection before birth? Great question. Everybody you experience down here, so biological parents, step parents, biological children, stepchildren, adopted children. You know, what's interesting is you're all part of the same unique soul spiritual family. When you cross over, you'll see that a stepchild, an adopted child, biological child, actually no difference, for example. So the way our family comes down to earth, we're all playing roles, but you're all part of the very same biological family. So rest assured, if you've been adopted, you are just as much part of that, let's say, biological family from a soul perspective as you were if you were, say, biological here on Earth. Good question. It comes up all the time, but remember, there are no accidents on Earth. You lay out your blueprint. So by virtue of the fact, even you think about it, that a couple, let's say, adopts children, those adoptive children are very much part of that key family. There's life lessons they came down to learn with that family. And when you cross over, you'll see you're actually all part of the same unique soul family. 40. Sterling, what is the outcome of the House specifically passing a budget in September? Will Speaker Johnson be ousted by Republicans as a result of the passing? I see that there's going to be another continuing resolution or CR passed. It's going to kick the can down the road. And I've read on this a number of times now over the last months, years, and I always saw them kicking the can down the road with CRs. Looks like that's going to happen again. I don't see, looks like Speaker Johnson's going to survive like through the election or right around the election time period. So it doesn't look like he's going to be changed out, but it's coming, all right? 39. Will a total loss of hearing be able to be restored when and by what healing modality? Well, here again, this is on like a 10 to 15 year cycle, meaning we've got another 10 to 15 years to go here where genetic engineering, gene editing is going to come up with ways to help the body correct these things, identifying cells that need to be reactivated, identifying cells that create hearing loss. Now, there's two areas my team's saying, right? I'm not a doctor. My team's saying there's two areas here. There's like a physical area, meaning maybe there's physical problems in the bone area. I'm just saying, again, not a doctor. Let's say inner ear problems. And then there's like neurological things going on may affect hearing. So within 10 to 15 years, gene editing is going to help with both restoring hearing, preventing hearing loss. But then they're showing me it's split into two different areas, like neurological function, which will be helped, as well as like physical function, like inner ear bones or something. Okay. 38. Will the U.S. have states seceding from the U.S. due to political reasons? No, not at all. I see a lot of discussion in this area, a lot of saber rattling, but no, I don't see it. My team doesn't see it happening. 37. When getting acupuncture treatments, what is the treatment doing for the body? I've been getting some and they do something, but I can't describe it. It has been beneficial, but has made me very tired for a couple of days afterward. What I get from my team, not a doctor again, but acupuncture, it affects like there are thousands what they call meridians on the body. And I think maybe they focus on, I don't know, maybe 12 or 20 specifically. And I'm an expert in acupuncture. This is all coming through real time now from my team. But what happens is these meridians are the central areas where somehow pain, it could be emotional pain, it could be physical pain or transmit to physical pain. But acupuncture tends to release the energy or what's going on in that area that can create pain or emotional stress in the body. Now, when you're tired afterwards, that's kind of a realignment of your body. It's almost like a release. It's almost like going through an operation where they remove like a tumor, like a cancer tumor, and then your body kind of reacclimates, right, and restores itself. So it's a little bit of a healing process when you're very tired. But it really does affect meridians on the body. And my team saying it's like thousands, but maybe acupuncture focuses on maybe 12 or 20 of them. Okay. So I'm not an expert. Oh, this is what they're telling me. 36, greetings, Sterling and team. I have at times seen a bright light emanating from others' eyes. I always thought the light was coming from their soul, but since our souls are mapped onto the outside of the bodies, what am I seeing in their eyes? This is the form of soul energy that emanates from the body, what you're seeing. So you have a bit of clairvoyant ability to see. And the analogy I was using last weekend of souls being mapped on the body, the soul permeates every cell in the body, but it's like being, let's say, projected onto the body and into the body. I think sometimes over years, some historical religions would try to say it's in one particular mind center or something, but it really permeates every bit of the body. But what you're seeing is soul energy, so that means you have a bit of a clairvoyant ability in real time. 35. Hi, Sterling and team. On July 2nd of this year, President Biden signed the National Parkinson's Project into law. This being federal legislation dedicated to ending Parkinson's disease. Will this initiative speed up finding a cure and successfully treating the symptoms of Parkinson's disease? If so, when can a cure be expected in the US? I get over the next 10 years combining stem cell therapy with gene editing with CRISPR is going to come up with a solution to Parkinson's. Now, I think this will just be like the tip of the iceberg. So they'll identify certain portion of Parkinson's, it was Parkinson's, right? Parkinson's patients, a certain group of Parkinson's patients that will be immediately helped. And then there'll be some refinement and like combining stem cell therapy with gene editing. So over the next 10 years here, strong things happening here. And then they're telling me within 16 years from now, really very strong cures. So it's all coming. We're on the precipice of a lot of breakthroughs in this area. And it looks like President Biden's program will help a lot in that area. 34. Will 45 be able to block the release of an allegedly unfavorable biopic movie about him called The Apprentice until after the election? It is currently scheduled for release on October 11th, 2024. Is the movie based on true events and will it help swing voters to Kamala Harris? I get the movie's going to be released on a normal schedule. And yes, it's based on true events. And no, it's not really going to have a big effect on, let's say, the core voters for 45. So it's not going to have a big effect, but I do get that it's going to be released on a somewhat normal schedule and it is based on truth. Absolutely. 33, Sterling and team. Why are very young people ruining their lives and their victims' lives by going on these killing sprees? Is this in their life path? I can't make sense of it. Imagine being 14 and having 65 years of being jailed. The whole thing is just so horrible. What does your angelic team see? I mean, these are all related to life path blueprints. I know it's hard to understand, but remember, all of our life paths are interconnected. And so there is something about when we're coming up on new legislation to help with background checks, red flag laws, registration for weapons, that kind of a thing. But it's all part of a larger Earth plan. These are horrible events. Don't get me wrong. But these people that come down and do these events, it's part of a life path blueprint that they laid out, as well as their parents and everybody that's affected, and then the people that start societies, organizations to stop massive violent situations. So remember, this Earth is an extremely large, unique school in the universe. This is a big school down here. And unfortunately, these are some of the things that occur in that school. 32, dear Sterling, the other day I got a notification on my phone from Alexa, which has never happened before because I've turned it off. It said that Ellen Hine had joined my network. Ellen is my sister who passed away last year and never owned an Alexa. When I looked for the notification on the app to show my two sisters, it was not there. Was this my sister popping in to say hi? Yes, absolutely. This is your sister in a way that she thought she could get your attention. Remember, on the other side, spiritually, we can connect with energy very easily. So the first thing you learn when you cross over on the other side, that you have ways to affect energy or electrical devices here on Earth. It's kind of the easiest way to kind of interact across the dimensions. So in this case, this really was your sister trying to reach out to you and say, "I'm okay, and please don't worry about her. She's okay," and sending you a lot of love, light, and hope is what I get. Okay, 31, the countdown. Hello and thank you, Sterling and team. You've said our dimension, or is it every dimension, is based in love and fear. What do your guides think of Yoda's statement? Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Well, it's true that the entire universe only runs on two principal energies, love and fear. And you can especially experience fear down here on Earth. Fear doesn't exist in every dimension, but certainly down here in the Earth. Now, they're asking whether Yoda's statement, my interpretation of that statement is that when you're on the fear side, there's a plethora of things that exist there: hate, anger, jealousy, revenge. And sure, all those things drag you down, drag you backwards. So, in that sense, there's a lot of truth in that statement. Remember, my team just reminding me, if you think about love and fear, it's really the yin and the yang of the universe. 30, love and light to Sterling and team. Will there ever be a time when the female politicians outnumber male politicians in our government? If so, when do you see it happening? I'm being told it's going to happen within 3 decades. May seem like a long time. You're going to see big swings, like within 2 decades, within 3 decades. I think you're asking about the majority, right? Yeah, outnumber male politicians. Within 3 decades, that'll be the case. 29. Greetings, Sterling. When we astral travel, are the dreams we remember the next day, one, a literal description of our travels, two, a symbolic representation of events, three, completely unrelated, or four, combination? So we don't always astral travel when we dream. That's a very specific type of dream state. Many times in our dream state, so I think it's important to say there's two different major types of dream state. I'll call it a conventional dream state and astral travel dream state. When you astral travel, you're actually disconnecting your soul from your physical body, and actually allows you to go through other dimensions, see people you haven't seen in a long time, like in the heaven dimension, all sorts of things. In the conventional dream state, you're really exposed to a lot of life lessons, people you knew. And a lot of times you see people in your dreams that aren't those people, but they're a representation of something in that person, a character trait, a personality trait that you have in yourself that's being reflected from that person. There's some very good dream books out there, but an answer to this question, really two primarily big differences in kind of dream state: astral travel, disconnecting the soul from the physical body, and then I'll call more conventional dream states where you're being taught lessons, showing images, showing ways to better navigate your life. And there are many times loved ones can come through into conventional dreams as well to give us a helpful message. Happens all the time when people are passing away, or right after they pass away, they'll make the rounds into your dreams to tell you everything's okay. But yeah, good question there. 28. Did 45 create pardons for his GOP enablers and accomplices for their role in January 6 and other misdeeds? If so, could he be holding on to the pardons until after the election as leverage to control their compliance and silence? Did 45 issue himself a pardon as well as holding on to it? I'm getting he created pardons for well over 100 individuals. Yeah, he's using it as leverage. Um, but it's interesting that a lot of these options are going to be, go away when 45 doesn't win the election. So yeah, it's a part of the mechanism by which 45 is leveraging people in politics right now. But I get he created well over 100 pardons and even created one for himself. But for some reason, I'm getting, even if he were to become president, that particular pardon for himself wouldn't transact, like somehow it would not be held up legally. 27. Thanks, Sterling and team. I've been raising and loving Bernese mountain dogs for over 30 years. Until recently, I had three at home. I lost my 5-year-old girl at the end of June and my 10-year-old boy in August of this year. My 5-year-old girl was serving as an ADA medical alert service animal. And I still have my 3-year-old girl who is not fully trained. Is it possible the other two dogs download information skills to her after their passing? She has been demonstrating skills and behaviors she wasn't using before or been trained for. Also, we are all still grieving at the shocking loss of our two loving dogs so close together. Is there something I can do to help ease the grief? Uh, this is okay. So, in fact, the new 3-year-old is a Bernese Mountain Dog, is actually a brand new soul, and it actually is communicating with your dogs on the other side as well as her angelic team. So it's kind of a mix. There are actually a lot of individuals helping here to try to also get you restored. I'm getting, your other two dogs spend a great deal of time around the house. As your 3-year-old, you have a 3-year-old Bernese Mountain Dog, looks like is still communicating with the other two, that actually be able to see her looking around the house, observing the other animal that just left. You said one left in August and one left in June, right? I think you just said, yeah. Yeah, but they're still around your house. So I think even you can perceive. I know you're asking how to get over the grief. Take a step back. Take a deep breath and step into that energy. They're still all around your house. 25. When will there be a permanent solution for chronic migraine sufferers? I get there's going to be new dietary guidelines coming up for migraine. So I'm not a doctor here, but I think there's my team saying that a large part of the condition can be caused by dietary food intake. So whether this is sugars or non-natural substances or hormones or preservatives, there's something about dietary condition here that's really going to come into focus. I also see there be like new vaccines being created within a couple of years here. They're going to somehow create better circulation in the body. So my team is talking about circulation, capillary blood vessels, but also a big dietary component. So I'm getting very strong here from my team that there are certain things still in foods, let's say processed foods, they're a big contributor towards migraine conditions. And again, not a doctor, but I'm sure migraines are defined if you have like massive headaches more than like 15 times a month or something like that, then it's considered migraines. But I keep hearing big dietary component here. So whoever asked this question, please look in almost a little bit more refined level of dietary components you're taking in, but looks like it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. 24. Hello, Sterling. Is it Jagmeet Singh, Mark Carney, or Elizabeth May ever become Prime Minister of Canada? It looks like both Mark Carney is his name and Elizabeth May have excellent opportunities to become prime minister. And I don't know anything about this, but it looks like Mark Carney will become prime minister. So I don't know anything about these people, but that's what they're giving me right now. 23, Sterling. While meditating in a secluded spot at Mesa Verde National Park, a huge bird flew past me, close enough to touch my ear with its wing. Then a thought popped into my head. You are in danger on the trail of the Hopi. Perhaps the real message was that I was in danger rather than a danger. Who was this bird and what was the true message? Yeah, in fact, this is a message from your guides and angels through that bird to say, move on, that there was danger on that trail. Remember, all of our loved ones and guides and angels can effectively manipulate in a good way animals on Earth, along with electrical devices. But animals are part of the angelic realm. They're very connected to the other side. And so many times, loved ones, guides, and angels can use them to help us. So you were in fact danger on that trail. They're trying to move you along. 22 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. When Tesla died in 1943, the Office of Alien Property seized his possessions. Though most of it was later returned to his family, some of it still remains classified. What did Nikola Tesla invent that we never got to know about? Yeah, so this alien property has more to do with like, let's say migrant status, if you will, not extraterrestrial, alien property office. I get he had a lot of developments and a lot of advanced information he developed around time travel, and I'll call it transposition, be able to move individuals from one state to the other, meaning state of being, meaning almost like what you see with transporters on Star Trek, free energy. He made a lot of progress in those areas that many governments around the world are still working with. So all the information was protected. So it's going to come out, but I get free energy. And if you think about like the Star Trek transporter, he had technology for transposition at a molecular and quantum physics level for people. And he channeled that information. He had a very strong group. 21, hi Sterling and team. Will there be any resolutions, or I'm sorry, any real solutions in the next 10 years to afford elder care? Right now, Medicare takes all of your life savings to be in an assisted living or nursing home, unless you take steps to put your money in a special irrevocable trust to qualify for Medicare aid. Long-term insurance is often not a real affordable solution either. This is a rampant problem affecting millions. There's like some real solutions coming up here through the federal government, but it's like 10 to 15 years here. Has to do a lot with new legislation, new revenues coming in, new healthcare, medical care. A lot of like it's a actually composition of a lot of things coming together all at once over the next 10 to 15 years here to help with elder care. Because of the graying of the population, a lot of it's going to be very essential. So a little bit longer time horizon, but it has to do with new revenue, new medical breakthroughs, and even ways insurance companies are addressing it. It's interesting. It's all coming. 20. Hello, Sterling and team. Does religious belief or not influence what happens to one on the other side? My daughter took her life, and although I believe she knew immediately upon leaving her body that it was a mistake, I wonder how suicide is treated on the other side. Is it taken into account at all? So, religious belief here on earth has very little effect on the other side. Remember, a lot of religion is created by humanity. It started out wonderful and was brought through from the one source, one force. Humanity got involved, thousands of generations and thousands of interpretations, thousands of individuals. Anyway, religion has very little basis when you cross over. You cross over into your true soul, spiritual self. Now, suicide is part of a life path. And if you get off the planet, it's part of your life path. I talk about this all the time. Birth angels are there to save your life if it's not your time. Lots of examples of that. But I think we addressed all the questions here. I think it said that you realize it was a mistake. You don't see it as a mistake. You see it as your life path, the decision you made on your life path blueprint. Now, you may go through a longer, more intense life review. We all go through a life review when we cross over to review. What did you learn? What were the takeaways? What do you want to learn the next lifetime? So a little more intensive life review for suicide. It's true. But it is all part of a life path, and religion has really no effect on the other side. You step into true love, true spirituality when you cross over. 19. Hello, Sterling. I believe Kamala Harris will win the November presidential election and 45 will lose. We all know 45 will fight the election results in the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court and try to convince Congress not to certify Harris as the new president. My question, will the lawsuits and court battles create more stress on the American people and the country than it did in 2020? And how confident are you the Supreme Court will not side with 45 and Stalin as president? Yeah, there's going to be a plethora of court challenges coming up after the election from 45, the GOP. I do see the Supreme Court weighing in. Kamala Harris will be installed and confirmed. I think it's January 20th as the next president, or the 47th president. I see a lot of havoc, a lot of chaos around the courts. I don't see the Supreme Court overriding it or successfully overriding it. So I always see from an Akashic record standpoint, I do see Kamala Harris having a two-term presidency. She will win. So rest assured that'll be the case. 18, there is speculation that Elon Musk is acting on behalf of to benefit foreign governments or agents, specifically Russia. Is there any truth to this? Yes, this is absolutely the case. There's offshore money flowing from Russia and other entities here that are helping to influence what Elon Musk is doing. 17, Florida Republican Thomas Fighter, it looks like, says he is filing a lawsuit accusing Republicans of bribery and putting up a sham candidate in the state attorney general's race for Orange and Osceola, Florida counties. Candidate Seth Hyman beat Thomas Feeder, I guess it is, in the August 20th Republican primary and then dropped out late last week. Are the Republicans trying to manipulate the race for Florida's Attorney General office? Yes, I get absolutely that they're trying to work something behind the scenes here to leverage whatever candidate they want in there. So they're talking about the exit here of in August 20th election, then primary dropped out. Candidate Seth Hyman beat Thomas, then dropped out. Yeah, there's a lot of back end manipulation going on here. There is. So that's the question. Absolutely. Um, and unfortunately, they're getting away with it. I'm getting they're having some success in manipulating the election. 16. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has openly admitted throwing out votes to prevent Biden from winning the state in 2020. He is now using his office to bully Hispanic voting activists and threatening to sue Bexar and Harris counties over mailing registration forms to unregistered voters. Will he ever face consequences for any of this, or securities fraud, or the crimes that led to this impeachment? I see the federal courts getting really involved and trying to assist with all of this, and getting all this back on track with unlawful or unjustified raids on Hispanic homes or individuals here. But I don't see Paxton will face any charges. I see a lot of court cases, but for some reason he's able to skate through the support he has across the government. So federal government's going to get involved to kind of put this like back in order and stop a lot of these kinds of unlawful searches and seizures, whatever's going on here. But no big federal jail time or anything of that nature coming for Paxton. 15. Will King Charles pass the crown on to William or Harry? There are psychics that say William will pass the job down to Harry. I see William taking over the crown from King Charles, and I don't see it being passed down to Harry. And I also see overall, in kind of very short order, number of years that looks like the entire monarchy will become much less important than it is right now. So it's almost like declining effectiveness on the population, declining interest. But it looks like William will take over the crown from King Charles. 14. The rare melanoma that Bob Marley died from is called acral lentiginous melanoma, or ALM, call it ALM here for short. Is there going to be a cure for it soon? I get from my team, there already are cures for this type of cancer, but it's a matter of like getting it diagnosed quickly. So fast diagnosis. I see artificial intelligence being used to diagnose it much faster than it is right now. So there already are cures. The problem is getting it diagnosed quickly. I guess if it's diagnosed late stage, that's the problem. So whoever asks this question, there are cures, but it's going to get diagnosed much faster, so a much higher level of success. Absolutely. Okay, 13, the countdown. What will Jill Stein's effect be on the November election? It has been reported that she's leading Harris among Muslims. I get overall, it's not going to have any overall major effect on the election. I do see a large number of, I guess, the Muslim population following her, wherever this is at. But it doesn't look like it's going to have a big sway on the election. So I think that's the question here. 12. Hello and thank you, Sterling and team. To our family members who have passed, hear us if we speak to them, even it's been decades, and do they still care about us? Yeah, absolutely. Remember, the heaven dimension moves faster than the speed of light. When we speak to our loved ones, they come around us instantaneously right away. For them, it doesn't feel they're moving faster than the speed of light in that dimension. It feels like they might mosey over. To us, it feels instantaneous. Yes, they come around immediately. They can hear you no matter how long they've been gone. Remember, there's no real relevance to Earth year timeline to heaven year timeline because it's very interesting that the timelines are quite different. Time tends to be nonlinear in heaven, but it doesn't matter if they've been gone decades. They hear you instantaneously and they come around. 11, the countdown. It seems that G8 countries as a whole are a target for Russian interference and propaganda. Understanding this realization of how easy it is to manipulate public discourse via social media, Will there ever be effective checks and balances that don't infringe on freedom of speech, expression across platforms in developed countries? Yes, here again, I see within 2 years here, you're going to see a big integration of artificial intelligence technologies to do fact checking on all sorts of media outlets, social media platforms. It's almost like real time fact checking running on the screen. It's almost like closed captioning running on the screen. So as statements are made, you'll see real time, instantaneous fact checking going on. You won't be able to put across misinformation easily at all. It's going to be you'll see that once all this starts to happen in real time, displayed in real time on social platforms, it'll be really easy, very difficult for those that are trying to create discourse to be successful. 10. Hi, Sterling. After yet another school shooting where an assault weapon was used, are we ever going to ban them? Also, in the same vein, are we going to pass laws where you can't gift guns to children under 18? Thank you to you and your guides. It says edited to add, I'm not against the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner. I just see no reason for guns made for war need to be in people's homes. I've read on this a number of times, but I always see that very shortly here, we're going to get to a place, not just, red flag laws being implemented very well. So that means they'll defy somebody with prior criminal history or mental issues or emotional problems, not getting access to weapons. I do see what's going to be like a Department of Motor Vehicles style registration progress or procedure here coming into play. It's like annual DMV registration, carrying liability insurance. They're going to start handling guns the same way we handle automobiles in this country. Annual registration fees. You have to show, you have insurance. And I do see the minimizing of assault weapons. So whether they pull back on some of them, they don't allow them to be sold, but now they're registered. Yeah, a lot of this is going to happen. But my team has said now for quite a while, and I see this rolling out over the next number of years here, like a Department of Motor Vehicles style registration program around all guns and weapons. Like you can have them, but you have to register them. The fees you pay for registration help to go towards training programs and helping schools with early warning systems. Yes, there's a whole new program, a whole new element coming in here around weapons. It's going to happen within 5 years. I just heard. 9. Hello, Sterling and team. Now that 45 has admitted that he lost the election, will some of his followers finally accept they were wrong and vote contrary or vote country over party? Kamala needs every vote. I don't see any major group of 45 supporters moving over to Kamala. The 45 supporters are pretty much ingrained. It doesn't matter kind of what he says, they're ingrained. So it won't be a big factor. It's interesting he came out and said it. He's still, I think, still denying it. But yeah, it doesn't look like a big sweep, a big push of 45 supporters coming over to vote for Kamala Harris from that particular statement by 45. Number 8 in the countdown. Hello, team. A German song made by AI has become viral and climbed to the top position of the charts. My question is, how will the laws evolve regarding royalties, copyrights on music, including art, movies, etc.? I am an artist myself and thinking, will I still be able to sell art, or will people overall prefer to buy art by AI? So first off, AI is going to be here. AI is here to stay. It's going to be part of everybody's lives going forward in every element of society. Now, there are things, there are court cases, and there are way royalties are going to be calculated. A lot of AI uses real art to train itself, like big, large language learning models, LLMs. And they're actually going to there'll be court cases here that will then justify and show how copyright should be paid out, royalties should be paid out. It's an entire paradigm shift in the industry. Also, keep in mind that many artists will actually leverage AI to help them create art even faster. So it's going to be a tool that we're all going to learn how to live with. It's like, it's like we went from, horse and carriages to automobiles to other types of big technology transitions in society. AI will be here, but there'll be new legislation, and artists will use AI to create, and there'll be new ways of compensating and defining how, like large language models and large AI databases were trained using real art. So it's a transition, a big paradigm shift. But everybody's going to adapt to it. There'll be some growing pains here, but it's going to happen. Seven, high sterling. Flea medications for cats and dogs can be very toxic and can cause seizures, even death, both topical and oral. My own vet referred to them as poison. Unfortunately, with flea infestations, particularly in the summer, they are necessary. Will there ever be a flea medication developed in the near future for pets that is not toxic? If yes, will it be oral, topical, or both? I see new drugs being developed that are coming out of whatever they're learning from mosquitoes or malaria. And so they're going to be more like organic treatments. And I'm hearing from my team that something being learned from mosquitoes and treating malaria will then transition also to humans and to animals. So over a 5-year period here, a lot of this is coming up. It's going to be whatever's being developed will also be safe for humans. So it might be a drug that is important for combating a lot of like airborne insect-based illnesses within just a few years here. But it looks like big developments. They keep telling me malaria, mosquito developments, and then transition to drugs for animals that vets will use. And they'll be very safe. So we're going through, and they're saying it's going to be oral and vaccine ways of injecting or administering will both be available. Six. Hello, Sterling and team. Does the FBI know who the 2020 pipe bomber is and who planned it in DC? And will they ever face justice? Yes, the federal government, the FBI knows exactly who it is. They even talked about this on prior shows, but they're waiting until a lot of these court cases play out with 45 until they start bringing that evidence in. Because there's a larger, I'll call dragnet of people involved in that, the planning of it, the placement of it. And it's almost like getting through certain trials first before they start going that direction. Five. Hello, Sterling. Will there ever be an easy way to test for fibromyalgia, example, a blood test or MRI in the near future? You know, um, it's interesting. We are talking about acupuncture before, but my team's talking about there's going to be artificial intelligence diagnostic methods that are going to look at like 18 points around the body or 18 things. It's seriously because we were talking about this with acupuncture earlier. But it's almost like artificial intelligence coming up the next couple of years here, looking at 18 points around the body to determine if you have fibromyalgia and then be able to treat it faster. So yeah, it looks like this is in like seconds, be able to do a diagnostic and determine if you have fibro, because we're asking easy way to test for fibromyalgia. Artificial intelligence, 18 points around the body, and within just a couple of years here, I feel like testing's already being done right now. Four. Hi, Sterling and team. The Ghost Inside My Child is a show that features young children who remember their past lives and how they died, which in most cases causes night terrors until the parents and child can discover what's happening. If our past lives do not affect our present life and past life trauma does not carry over, how is this explained? Well, very simply, up until about the age of 10 years old, we're very open to the other side. So we all have tremendous psychic mediumship ability. A lot of children up through the age of 4 or 5, they talk to imaginary individuals, for example, people that are really there. Uh, Now, when you're very open to the other side, it's like allowing a floodgate to come through. Doesn't mean that you necessarily that prior lifetime has to have an effect on this lifetime, but you're open to like the encyclopedia of all the information in the Akashic records. So all comes flooding through. So one of the things when you come down to earth here, you do tend to learn, you naturally start to close off those capabilities, just kind of for self-preservation. You can learn later on in life how to control them, like playing an instrument. But it's not necessarily that the past lives are affecting this life. You're open to everything on the other side. It's about learning how to control. A good example also later on in life, sometimes people learn or they reactivate their psychic mediumship ability and they just really open themselves up like a flashlight to the other side. Everybody comes running. And so it's really exhausting. So that's really the effect. It's like having the floodgates open when you're young or young child and learning how to utilize it, how to control it. But that's what that's all about, not really a past life carryover. Three. Hi, Sterling. My question is about funeral homes and attending funerals. I don't like going to either because the environment is always extremely sad, especially the experience of viewing a dead body. My question is, in the near future, will the funeral experience become more uplifting and positive? Yes, within about 20 years here, humanity's going to understand that life goes on. It never stops. Many people, the veil will be thinner to the other side. You'll be able to see apparitions. Much the way a lot of psychic mediums can already see apparitions, people on the other side. You're going to understand that life goes on, that you're trading like one car for another, meaning as your body moves out of the vehicle you're in here on Earth, your body, you go on and you actually be able to see that individual. So it's going to change. A lot of things are going to change over this 3-decade reset we're going through, the year 2020, 2050. But in this case, I'm being told within about 20 years here, funerals will start to be quite different. People really understand life goes on, the continuum, that we're infinite, our souls are infinite, no beginning, no end. And number two and number one, I always take notes before I start the show, so we'll go through those. Number two, do you see anything coming up this week? Strong acceleration of Kamala Harris in the polls, both nationally and swing states. I see Kamala Harris will win Pennsylvania. A big boost from the Taylor Swift endorsement as well. New aggression, unfortunately, from Russia inside Ukraine this week. They'll be counteracted by Ukraine, a lot of aerial defenses. I do see the US and other NATO allies authorizing, allowing the use of aerial weapons deeper inside Russia. And I see big progress coming in for the Gaza-Israeli ceasefire negotiation, specifically around, we talked about this last week, the Philadelphia corridor that's now coming under Israel control. That corridor is important because I think there were a lot of terrorists being stuck in through that area and weapons. And also, for some reason, new Elon Musk plans being developed here are announced for like a new aircraft, a commercial aircraft is coming and going into production. Something about a new Elon Musk announcement for an aerial, like an aircraft. Also, new earthquakes continuing in Southern California, including Bakersfield, San Bernardino, and Malibu, California. So a lot of 4s and 5s coming up. And so that kind of concludes what's coming up this week. A lot going on, but also big progress for Kamala Harris going forward here, and many more slip-ups here for 45 in the press. And number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep in mind that everything you share in life creates energy, like waves going out to sea. Eventually, these waves return to shore, so make sure you send out only positive waves. So, on that note, that concludes the show being recorded today on Saturday, September 14th, 2024. Be posted live to the channel on Sunday, September 15th, 2024. And I want to really wish everybody coming up here a tremendous week. Stay positive. Again, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab. Again, sessions available, I think, now in early 2025 on the calendar. Very easy to see. If you want to join our Platinum membership, the join button is on both the YouTube site as well as the website. And on that note, I'm going to send out goodwill to everyone and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.